All right, we're here to keep talking about Pokemon. Today we're going to be ranking the most iconic Pokemon of any generation, the starters.
I got a feeling we're going to be making a lot of enemies with this one.
If you have any complaints about where we place your favorite starter, please send those Joe's way. He is the president after all. He's responsible for everything.
Oh, so now you're willing to admit I'm president.
Let's set the foundation for the discussion first. We'll be taking the entire evolution line of the starters into account, and we'll be looking at them in all aspects: design, viability, in-game, and overall impact in the franchise.
We're not ranking them based on their competitive viability, though. We're not that sweaty.
Let's begin with the first-gen starters.
I'm going to keep it real. All three of the Kanto starters are peak and should go into S tier.
All three of them are iconic and well-designed. Bulbasaur and Squirtle are better in the main game than Charmander, though.
Not a problem in Fire Red and Leaf Green since Game Freak gave Charmeleon Metal Claw.
George, you were spitting when you said Charmander went into S tier, but Squirtle and Bulbasaur definitely do not.
Ain't no way you're claiming they aren't right up there with the best of the best.
Don't get me wrong, I love the pair of them, but it's no secret that Charizard has had a far greater impact within the Pokemon franchise than the other two.
Please, Charizard is just overrated. Blastoise clears it.
I am personally not a fan of how Game Freak and the Pokemon anime glaze Charizard. It's cool, but its design is pretty plain.
It's undeniable that Charmander is the most popular Kanto starter, and Charizard's popularity damn near rivals Pikachu's. If the franchise were to have another mascot, it's definitely Charizard.
Put Charizard in S tier and the other two in A tier?
I disagree. All three belong in S tier.
I'm with Joe. I'm not letting this Charizard meat riding continue. All three of the Kanto starters are big time. When you think of an iconic trio, you think of Bulbasaur, Charmander, and Squirtle, not just Charmander.
Going to go with Joe and George here. Charmander's popularity can't be denied, but its peers are right next to it. Plus, I think Bulbasaur and Squirtle have better designs. People see a dragon-like Pokemon and go rabid.
At least put Charmander at the front of S tier.
Charmander fans never stop yapping.
You might be fine with having Charmander shoved down your gullet, but I'm sure not.
Next up, we have Pikachu.
Do we really have to count Pikachu as a starter because of Pokemon Yellow?
It is also a starter in the Let's Go game, so yes, it counts.
Well, Pikachu is the top three most iconic fictional characters in history. Right up there with Spider-Man and Superman.
Not to mention that it is literally the Pokemon mascot. I'm sure everyone had an older relative that just called Pokemon Pikachu instead of its actual name.
I really do not want to give Pikachu S tier on principle. It's just too obvious.
Consider this: Pikachu as a starter in Yellow is just a regular Pikachu that can't evolve, and it becomes very frail due to middling stats.
True, but they buff your partner Pikachu in the Let's Go games, and it's actually stupid strong. With a base stat total of 435, it's only a bit weaker than a normal Raichu's 485.
Just put it in S tier, Barack. Let's be honest here, it's Pikachu.
All right, fine, but no way is Eevee an S tier starter.
The coolest thing about Eevee is the fact that you can evolve it into multiple different types using stones, rocks, the power of friendship, or by teaching it a fairy move. So to remove all those options just gives you something that is, for lack of a better term, normal.
Eevee isn't even really that popular. Think about it. Everyone always asks, what's your favorite evolution? The only thing people care about is what you evolve your Eevee into, not the stage 1 Pokemon itself.
And that's not to say we dislike Eevee or anything. It's a cutie pie. I'd just rather have a Flareon or Glaceon.
Or a Vaporeon.
George, stop it.
Looking at Eevee purely from its position as a starter, it belongs in D tier.
And let me be clear again when we say this. Eevee isn't a bad Pokemon, but it is a bad starter.
Good deal. Now we move on to the Johto starters.
Chikorita is dog shit.
Chikorita is the best starter.
Jesus Christ, how do you two always find a way to beef about everything?
If you want to take part in these discussions, George, you better get used to it.
Chikorita is a terrible starter. It gets completely clapped by over half the gyms in the game. Faulkner, Bugsy, Morty, Price, and Claire all use types that destroy grass types. Not to mention that Team Rocket uses poison types.
Viability in game isn't the only thing. Donald, Chikorita, Bayleaf, and Meganium have a great design as long-necked dinosaurs that are plants. And the Mon is a nice addition to any team with its support moves like Reflect and Light Screen.
Joe, why in the fuck are you using support moves in the main game of Pokemon? The AI is never so difficult that something like that is necessary.
Yeah, I'm not going to lie to you, Joe. Donald is right. Why set up a screen when you can just hit the opponent with your strongest move?
It is unfortunate because I do like Chikorita quite a bit myself, but goddamn, a pure grass type with a support-style moveset in a region that eats grass types like a Caesar salad is rough.
I still say Chikorita is S tier. I like that it's a support mon. You can pick up other Pokemon to complement it.
Look, Chikorita is great and all, but not only is it not iconic, it's bad in the region it stars in. The only good thing about it is its design. Game Freak really need to give it fairy type in a Johto remake or something.
Joe only likes Chikorita so much because he wishes he could have a Bayleaf that loves him like Ashes does.
Who told you that?
Jill dropped it in the First Ladies group chat and Melania passed it on.
I can't trust anyone these days.
I'm just going to put Chikorita in C tier, and if we're done arguing about it, we still have 2 other Johto starters.
Design-wise, Cyndaquil and Totodile are peak. A big blue, huge blue gator and flaming badger.
It is kind of funny that Typhlosion has the exact same stat spread as Charizard. Game Freak really said copy-paste with that one.
I have a soft spot in my heart for Cyndaquil, and Totodile is always a great option to mix up my repeated runs of Soul Silver.
Totodile is also such a goofy fella. I love it.
Plus Typhlosion's Hisuian form is sick.
Put them both in A tier. They're not peak starters or anything, but damn do I love them both.
Time for the Hoenn starters.
It's no secret that all 3 of them are insanely well designed and their evolutions hold up as well.
A kickboxing chicken, a grass gecko with blades on its arms, and a giant axolotl. Magnifique creatures really put their backs into it with this one.
Not to mention that all 3 starters are useful in the game. You can't make a wrong choice here. But are we sure they're all on the same tier as Pikachu and Charmander?
Mudkip definitely is. I mean, I heard you like Mudkips.
Were we even calling those memes back in, good Lord, 2005 was 19 years ago?
Nah, hold up. I gotta completely shatter the 4th wall real quick. No shot did Google Docs try to correct me when I typed the word like properly to make me change it to the way it's spelt in the meme.
Well, that settles that. Mudkip goes in S tier for sure. It's so damn iconic that Google recognizes it when you're referencing the nearly 20-year-old meme.
What about the other 2? A tier, maybe?
Sounds good. Mudkip wins on the iconography front, but Trico and Torchic are still amazing starters.
Time for 4th generation, and I love the Sinnoh starters, another lineup of bangers.
One negative thing that all 3 of them have is that awkward middle stage. Grottle, Prinplup, and even Monferno are in a weird teenage stage before they hit their glow up.
In terms of in-game performance, there's a clear winner here. Infernape is a nuts Pokemon with the speed and offensive stats to carry you through the game.
They did overuse the firefighting type, but this is only the 2nd one, and it isn't quite that bad yet.
All right, but Empoleon has the best typing in the game. Water Steel is crazy good.
I do like Turtwig and Torterra quite a bit, especially for its dual typing of grass and ground. Unfortunately, it's so damn slow.
You still can't go wrong with a turtle Pokemon that is built like a continent.
Piplup is my favorite, and it should go in A tier.
Chimchar clears by a lot.
Chimchar is carried by the anime just like Charizard. I'm not surprised you like it so much, Donald.
Carried by the anime, please. That's pure cope. Infernape is the Monkey King.
I say we put Turtwig in B tier and Chimchar in A tier, but where does that leave Piplup?
Piplup will go in A tier. It's a cute little guy, and Empoleon is goated. Now we move on to the Unova starters.
Leave it up to 5th gen to give us a lineup of the shittiest starters.
Joe, I will throw my shoes at you if you talk Oshawott ever again.
Oshawott might have been cool if it became a badass water samurai instead of a damn otter.
I gotta agree there. This is the one time I wish a starter did go on 2 legs.
For once, Joe is actually spitting, giving us another fire, and fighting type starter was pretty lame. Though I do have a fondness for Tepig. It looks delicious.
Donald, what the hell?
What? Are you telling me you don't look at Tepig and see a nice succulent and spicy ham right before you?
Oh, good God.
Design-wise, Smugleaf over there has to be the worst. It starts out all right, but then it just becomes a big snake.
The Unova starters are fine, but I find them all boring to use, and they're all pretty mid-design-wise, taking the entire evolution line into account. Oshawott is probably the best of the bunch.
Tepig is B tier, decent design and everything, but the typing is repetitive and doesn't bring us anything new.
All the starters are viable options in the game, but I find Snivy to be a bit boring, and I don't like its designs. I put it in C tier with Chikorita.
I say we put Oshawott in A tier. Its first 2 stages are peak designs, but they dropped the ball with Samurott keeping it from S tier.
But what about Hisuian Samurott?
It's better color-wise and is a dark type, but they kind of fumbled the overall design. No better time than to have Samurott stand up and look like an old-school Japanese samurai.
Now we have 6th generation starters.
Fennekin is S tier.
George, I'm going to ask you to elaborate on that, and I can only pray to Arceus your take on this is normal.
It's simple, Barack. Fennekin is a mage with a unique design, and Fire Psychic was a completely new type combo back in 6th gen.
Fennekin is another one of those that begin on 4 legs and end on 2 legs Pokemon, and I hate it. Can you imagine if Bulbasaur started standing on 2 legs when it evolved into Ivysaur?
Yeah, but Braixen is hot, so it's okay.
George!
But it's a fire type. I'm saying it's hot.
I love Chespin. He's a goofy little guy.
Chespin is all right, but holy shit, its evolutions are ass. Quilladin is a grass-type Pignite, And what in the f were they cooking when they made chestnut?
I get what they were going for. It's a hedgehog with armor like an armadillo, but it looks so damn silly.
You know what it kind of looks like? That picture of the anteater standing up T-posing?
For what it's worth, grass fighting is a rare type. Chespin gives us something fairly unique.
Yeah, except Chestnut doesn't learn a good fighting type move until level goddamn 60 with Woodhammer. And the only good fighting move it can learn through TM is Brick Break.
And we might as well cut to the chase with Froakie. It's going straight into S tier.
Greninja is straight up the coolest starter to date. The design, the typing, even its name goes hard as f.
And let's not pretend like Ash Greninja isn't factoring into this. I'm still pissed that Ash and Greninja lost to Alan and his bullshit overpowered Charizard.
You're just mad dragons are cooler than ninjas.
Yeah, all right. Remind me of what happened to Alan and his Charizard in the Masters 8 tournament.
I'm just going to put Chespin in D tier. It might have worse in-game performance than Chikorita and has a terrible learn set. On top of it, just looking silly as hell as Quilladin and Chestnut, I can't imagine putting it anywhere near Froakie or Fennekin.
Put Fennekin in B tier. It's a decent mon with a good design and unique typing.
How are you going to put a Pokemon as smoking as Braixen and Delphox in B tier?
George, I will eject you from this call faster than Pikachu ejects Team Rocket at the end of every episode.
Put Rowlet in S tier right now, Barack.
Goddamn, Joe, can I at least lead us into the topic first?
Rowlet is straight up the best grass starter to date. Neat typing with grass and ghost and the aesthetic of an archer. The Hisuian form slams even harder with a better color scheme and fits closely with the location of Hisui.
I guess that settles that. I hate so much that Litten and Torracat, which have such a peak design, end up standing on two goddamn legs in the end.
You're crazy, Barack. Incineroar is a goat and it has a mean lariat.
Incineroar is a great Pokemon with a neat aesthetic, and there's a reason it got added into Super Smash Bros. Ultimate. We're putting Litten in S tier.
Now that leaves the water type Poplio.
Sounds like Pooplio.
Don't disrespect Poplio like that.
It has a nice design and it's our first fairy type starter.
I don't particularly rate Poplio. I get its design, but it's not my thing.
I love it. It has the same goofiness as Totodile as a circus performer. Put it in A tier.
Yeah, it's kind of mid if you ask me. However, as a fairy type, it's a pretty useful Pokemon.
Primarina has insanely good matchups within the Alola region. The Island Trials and Elite Four are damn near a cakewalk. I personally don't like Primarina much, but I can't deny it belongs in S tier for its decent design, great and unique typing, and its in-game effectiveness. Onward to the 8th gen starters.
Grookey is a peak design. It evolves into a massive grass gorilla that plays the drums.
I'm not a fan of the starters taking on human roles. Scorbunny becomes a soccer player for crying out loud.
It may be a bit odd, but Cinderace is a pretty cool design, and its unique move, Pyro Ball, has an amazing, unique animation.
All right, but I hate Sobble. Okay, well, not Sobble, but its evolved form, Inteleon, it's just so weird.
Thing looks like a Despicable Me character.
All right, and hear me out on this, Inteleon uses a fucking gun.
The sniper aesthetic is not lost on me, but I wish it just looked different. I don't know what to say about it.
Going to put Sobble in C tier. It starts out all right, but the design gets worse later on, but it's saved by its cool role as a sniper.
Scorbunny and Grookey go into B tier. They're decent mons with good designs.
Now that leaves us with the 9th gen starters.
Isn't it crazy that everyone and their mother looked at Sprigatito when it was revealed and we all collectively begged for it to not stand on two legs? And well, look, here comes Florigato and Meowscarada.
If Creatures Inc. does this again in the 10th generation, I'm going to have to step in.
Fuecoco is my dude, though. It's the first starter since Totodile to have the same level of goofiness.
Not to mention that Skeledirge has an insanely good signature technique called Torch Song.
Why are you talking about Skeledirge, Donald? Shouldn't you be more fond of the duck Pokemon?
Oh, why? Because my name is Donald? That really the best you could come up with?
I have mixed feelings with Quaxley. It's just so pompous.
I do enjoy Pokemon having a bit of personality, and Quaquaval has a great aesthetic as a dancer in a region based in Spain.
No, I was clowning on Sprigatito, but its design as Meowscarada is neat.
Fuecoco is going into S tier. That's my little guy.
Put Sprigatito in A tier.
Do you have any reasoning for that, George?
Depends. Will you boot me from the call if I elaborate?
Okay, let's rank Quaxley, who I think should go in C tier.
Nah, it's a great Pokemon. Put it in A tier with Sprigatito.
In concept, it's good, but I really do not like its Stage 2 form.
We'll just put Quaxley in B tier to round things out.
We put Charmander where it belongs, and that's all I care about.
I'm still very dissatisfied with where Chikorita is.
This is a good W for the 7th generation, though. Only Gen besides Kanto to get all its starters in S tier.
And listen, we may have ranked your favorite starter lower than you'd like, but it's always important to remember the eternal words of my girl Karen of the Elite Four. Strong Pokemon, weak Pokemon, that is only the selfish perception of people. Truly skilled trainers should try to win with their favorites.
Amen.
That does it for us today. Maybe we'll revisit Pokemon in the future, but for now, y'all stay safe out there. drink plenty of water, get some sleep, and we'll catch you on the next one.